And I've hired people as well too this year. And it's not easy, but I feel like it's a time also to lean in and to create some new systems and processes and to build up a different part of my business that I didn't focus on because it's been so easy.
Welcome to Real Talk with Gary. If you are listening to this show, that means you are either searching or ready to make a financial change in your life. This show is not only about real estate investing, but also the importance of mindset and the roadmap to a better, healthier life. Learn the daily routines of successful entrepreneurs and the latest market strategies and trends to stay ahead of the curve. Ready for some down-to-earth, north of the border Canadian talk? Here's your host, Gary Hibbert.
All right, welcome back. And today I've got my good friend Sarah Larbi on the show. No intro needed for Sarah. If you haven't heard of her, that means you're probably new to the game. But if you've been in the game for a while, she is one of the best ones out there doing it. And I wanted to have her on the show because I actually had a guest that canceled. And I was like, Sarah, why don't we just jump in the show? How about we just share ideas, our thoughts? Let's just be completely raw. And we did. And what we did, we really kind of talked about the difficulties that we're personally going through in our businesses, in our real estate portfolio, and how we're adapting. Because look, it's very easy to kind of just throw your hands up and give up. And so we wanted to share that with you. We also touched on some headlines in the news, such as universal basic income, immigration, where we think the market is going, and how to prepare yourself and how to be on the right side of the fence when that wealth transfer happens. Because there's a large one that's coming down the pipeline and it's happening, right? So how do you know what side to be on? Where do you put your money? Do you save your money? Where are you saving it? So a great conversation. And I guess before we jump into it, I'll share a couple things with you, which I think is what you're going to need for the next few years to survive this wave that's coming, because it's a big wave that's happening, right? There's a lot of things happening in the world, not only just here in Canada, but right around the world. And I think this is what you need. Not even think, I know. Number one, multiple skills. That's going to help you through it. Don't just rely on your job, because they're letting people go, there's layoffs. So you want multiple skills. Learn how to raise capital. That's an incredibly important skill. Find good people to work with. Also organize and have those good people learn how to work together, right? If you're starting a business. And one of the things that I've been working on and continue to work on is mastering the art of communication. Those are some great skills that I really believe that if you focus on that, you'll do incredibly well. But you've got to put the time in and you got to put the effort in. All right. With that, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. Talk to you guys next week. Take care. Are you looking to create generational wealth and get one step closer to financial freedom? If the answer is yes, then Better Mortgage Select is the brokerage for you. Better Mortgage Select has helped more real estate investors achieve financial freedom than any other mortgage brokerage in Canada. They are expert financial planning consultants that allow investors to grow their portfolio and have a unique way of helping clients navigate through the different banks and lending options available. Contact them today for a free consultation and get started on what could be a life-changing journey. Don't just get a mortgage, get a better mortgage.
Sarah Larbi, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I am good. No need for any introduction. We'll just jump right into it, right? I think everybody knows you and who I am. And we haven't done one in a while where we just kind of just sit down and have a conversation, just talk about current affairs and how your business has been impacted and just a conversation.
Yeah, it's been a while. And right now we're on Zoom and soon we'll be in Mexico hanging out by the beach together.
By the time this is released, yes, we'll be in Mexico.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. Well, let's enjoy the weather then. By the time this is released, then we'll be on the beach.
That's right. Okay. So why don't there's a couple different things I want to talk about. Yeah. I think the first one, I don't think maybe enough people are talking about this, is how has your business been impacted? And I'll even kind of maybe share, how my business has been impacted as well too. And what I've had to do to pivot because it sucked. And I remember talking to you just a couple of days ago, and you're like, Gary, I've never worked so hard for so little.
I know. You know what? It's for us, I'll start talking, and I'm sure feel free to jump in, but like, there's probably like 2 or 3 different categories of stuff, right? I think the stuff that I bought, from like 2013 to probably 2017, 2018, even though most of them were on variable or they renewed, those are actually doing okay. The stuff that is, quite old, I shouldn't say quite old, but the real estate that we bought back in the day. And I think for those ones, we're actually still cash flowing. And we're also like, there's a couple that we talked to the tenants, and we've actually bumped, the rents up quite a bit. Like one went from 16 something to 2200, which was awesome. The other ones, offered to pay more. When I gave them the 90 days notice, they actually like offered to pay like sooner, which was awesome. So like that part is awesome. I think where I'm feeling it right now is going to be all the newer stuff, right? The newer stuff that was already more expensive, potentially was refinanced recently. Or that's like still undergoing, completion and that kind of stuff. So that hurts that part a little bit. And then obviously, the brand new resort that's exclusive upscale, with a different price point, and with people not being able to afford those types of prices, that hurts a little bit as well.
You're talking about Inspire Beach Resort.
Inspire Beach Resort. Yeah. So like, if I look at my portfolio as a whole, like, something's up and some stuff is down and some stuff is lots of cash flow calls. And, like, I don't know. What are you seeing on your end for me?
I mean, I'll talk about some of my stuff as well too, is, so a lot of the older stuff that we've had, they're doing okay. I mean, I started back in 2008. So those ones aren't doing too bad. I also did lock in pretty much everything as well too. I think I told you that last year, September. And it was hard to do that, Sarah? You know how difficult that was? Because at the time, those were sitting in and around, like some of them were like 2.5, 3.5. Then to make the decision to say, I'm going to lock in at 5.5 or even a little bit higher, that was tough because nobody was ever thinking it was going to go that high. So fortunately, we were able to do that. But even some of them, they were still slightly tight. We've had to put cash in a couple of them as well too, but nothing crazy. In regards to the real estate side of our business, because that we primarily work with investors, like 80 to almost 90% of what we did over the last several years or over a decade now has been investors. They're gone. Now, it's not that they're gone. They're just on the sidelines. Yeah. Like I think they're just waiting. They're stabilizing their properties. So we're definitely seeing a big impact there. And those are the impact areas right now. So the real estate side, the portfolio side, and then the brokerage side as well too. That's kind of more of like a sideways thing right now. So you may have seen, because I do post a lot like on social media, like every time we get somebody new that comes in. But at the same time as well, too, we also have people that are leaving. So it's actually been kind of balancing out. And it's just because if you've been a part-time realtor or you were struggling as a full-time realtor, this is a difficult time to be in the business of being a real estate agent. Yeah.
I mean, like it's legit tough for everybody. I was talking to a couple lawyers, real estate lawyers, and like they're doing some layoffs. Mortgage brokers, like it's everyone's feeling the effects. I think even more so in Ontario, just because of where the prices were and where things were at. But because you're seeing it right firsthand, less and less people are buying. So like now you've got, I think, a lot of realtors and a lot of people in the business getting out of the business and getting jobs. Yeah. I don't think we're out of this yet. Like I think we're still in it for another year and change. And it's just unfortunate, but it would be really tough for somebody that just started in like 2022 as an example, and and bought a bunch at that point, or even 2021, because they didn't have the time in the market, right? And we always talk about it's not timing, it's time in, and that I think has been what helps me, but it's still a struggle. Like we sold a couple things, just to balance things out a little bit better. But it's not a pretty sight. We're seeing and we're hearing a lot of people struggling. And I think, and when we were talking about it, I'm like, I don't think I've ever worked so hard for so little, in the sense that there's other parts of the business, right? Whether it's the memberships for the resort, whether it's sponsorships for the events that we do, to cover the cost for the midterm rental stuff. Midterm rental is actually doing very well.
Is it? Okay.
in the sense that, because a lot of investors are getting, the short-term bylaws that are coming into play. I don't know if you've even heard this, but Vancouver is now making short-term 90 days or less.
Okay.
And so, and then they did that really fast. And unless you own your primary residence, you're not doing Airbnb, you're not short-terming anything anymore. So we have a lot of people coming, and Hamilton's, doing the bylaws starting the end of December. And I think it's coming. So
that bylaw, in Hamilton is what, to get rid of short-term rentals? Is that what that is?
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of the short-term rentals unless you apply for a license and you're the primary resident in that property.
And then midterm rental then is what is considered
midterm rental is 30 plus days.
Okay.
Because short-term is essentially, 28, 30 days, depending on the area, or 90 in Vancouver's case. But I think from an investor standpoint, there's a lot of investors wanting to go that route. But then now it's a balance, right? Because now we've got to find the guests, and that's another piece of it. But
what else are you working on or focusing on? Because you've also hired people this year, and I've hired people as well too this year, and it's not easy. But I feel like it's a time also to lean in and to create some new systems and processes, and to build up a different part of my business that I didn't focus on, because it's been so easy. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, there are times you win and there's times that you lose. And that's just part of the uphill battle.
Yeah. It's, because midterms is actually growing, we could have 100 people tomorrow, but we have to justify it and we have to bring in the income for it. But it's very busy, and we want to scale out of Canada too. We want to scale, obviously Canada too, but we want to get into the US, and we want to get into some other places. But I'll tell you what this has offered, I think, just even from a trade standpoint, but people are less busy now. We have our pick, right? Before, you used to want, let's just say, a contractor, but they couldn't start for 3, 4, 5 months,
right? Or,
your BCIN designer, the drawings, they weren't going to be able to fit you in for now everyone is a lot less busy. So you have your pick at, who you want to have as help. The other thing I think that's tough in this market is the private lenders. There's less and less of them, right? The money is getting tighter. And so, many of us relied on some private money in order to buy really ugly, worn down shit houses that most of the banks, except for National Bank, they're actually, again, there might be some other ones too, but, National Bank doesn't mind them. But a lot of private lenders are not in the market anymore. And they're starting to, pull their funds back and kind of sit on the sidelines, or because also the HELOCs that they were using to lend out now doesn't make any sense because the rates are so high. So that money goes back into their HELOCs.
Yeah.
So I think
that's interesting, because we're seeing that side of our business pick up, the private lending side.
Yeah, because from a lender standpoint or from a borrower standpoint?
Well, so we're lending that. So the borrower is coming to us.
Yeah, because there's less sellers are looking at all their options, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure you have great options as well, but you probably money is more scarce, and so you're going to look at all your avenues as much as possible.
Yeah.
Are you seeing from a lender side that they're also coming at the same speed?
For the lender side, that side has slowed down a little bit, in regards to investors looking to capitalize on the market. Yes.
Investors looking to loan out their money to get a percentage fixed return back, as an example.
No, we've got people that are waiting.
To loan out their mony?
Yeah.
Or to borrow money?
To loan out their money.
Interesting.
So if we get a deal that comes in, it doesn't take long for us to fill that deal.
Oh, there you go. You're gonna get lots of phone calls.
Yeah, no. So that's the one side of our business right now that we're focusing more on. The other thing as well too is so we talked about this. We only shared it, so I guess people will hear about it now on this podcast. Is we briefly talked about expanding deep pockets, but we're going to carve out another side of that business to now start acquiring apartment buildings. So we're looking at that now as well too, because I think that space makes the most sense in this type of a climate. As opposed to the 1s and 2s and 3s or 4, like, it's really difficult to make those kind of properties work. So that's what we're looking to do now. And there was a lot of people, because here's what I realized too, is that you have to I think remember, like, there's a lot of investors out there that are not like myself or you, or they're trying to scale to that level. And when the pinch is on, especially in this particular market, they want to get out of it, like the ones that are hurting them. And then say, look, here's my money. I'm willing to lend it out. You manage it. You do the work. If obviously they trust us or trust whoever it is that they're lending their money to. And I think that's what a lot of people end up doing afterwards, doing it because not everybody wants to be a landlord. It's not fun.
No, it's not. It's not for everyone. That's for sure. And, but you also need a good chunk to be able to get a good return back loaning out your money. I mean, you're not going to, do that well with only $100,000 either.
Yeah, exactly. So what else? So how many people have you hired this year?
We actually just hired somebody last week that starts next week. I don't know, like hired and that are still there, or hired and fired, or they couldn't cut it for whatever reason. Cause we've tried a few people. I mean, not like, Here's the thing, and not like we've probably hired like 10, I would say 10 people over the last 2 years.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, people either leave the country. Like we've had a couple people leave the country. We've had a couple people we had to let go. Trust, integrity, resourcefulness, efficiency, motivation. Like these are all things you cannot teach people, and they're hard to find. And I think people sometimes don't, from the midterm standpoint, don't really understand the hustle of a startup.
Right.
And they just want to clock in and clock out and do the minimal amount possible. And that just doesn't cut it. Right. And, in a nice way, but, sometimes it's a good fit and sometimes it's not a good fit. I think we have a really good team right now. For midterms, we've got Liam, who is our director of operations. Allison does our guest part of things. Obviously, Aisha and myself are kind of still in and on the business.
Yeah.
Both. We have Paul, who does our marketing and branding. We have 2 VAs. We actually just hired somebody as well to kind of be our right hand, helping with all the customer care as well as some of the sales stuff. Who else do we have? We have somebody to do our events. But they're all, so they're not.
There's a lot of moving pieces to it. And so how do you keep that all organized, Sarah? That's always the next big question that a lot of people want to know. Like, how do you organize that? How do you keep people motivated? Are you doing meetings? Are there weekly meetings, daily meetings? Because I can tell you for me, it's just full of meetings now. All week long. It's just meetings after meetings. Are you going through the same thing as well too? And
I look, I have a short attention span. I can't do too many meetings. I can't do too many long meetings. So I will say from a team standpoint, we meet on Tuesdays.
Okay.
And then we'll likely have like a 2-hour meeting, and then we'll break into like smaller groups. I do one-on-ones with them. And this is all fairly new. Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm super organized. I think a lot of it comes from just my corporate background. And I used to be a sales manager, and I used to have a team. And at one point I had 22 people on my team. And so, just sometimes taking some of those processes. Is it perfect? No, because there's still so many moving parts and we need so many more people than what we have. Yeah. So we do what we have with what we got. But I think if people are moldable and they're motivated and they're, like able to work in this fast-paced environment, because it's very fast-paced.
It is.
Then they'll do awesome. And like Aisha started off as my executive assistant, and she did it awesome. I'm like, you know what? Let's start a business together. I'll make you a business partner. You come in. We're equal partners, and let's start a company. And I think there's opportunity, right, for the people that are willing to grind it out and do what needs to be done for a short amount of time. I guess it doesn't have to be a million years, but she showed me what she could do for a year, and I'm like, you know what? Like, let's do some business and do bigger, better things. And that was her opportunity to shine, and she's doing an awesome job. But again, not everybody is cut out. But I'll tell you, this specific time now, where we have many more people looking for work, many more people that are laid off, not as busy. It actually, for people that are looking to hire, it's actually a good opportunity, because we now have the ability to be more selective in who we choose and who we pick. And we're not also having to pay top dollar like we might have 2 years ago just to get anybody. And, back then there was a labor shortage.
Right.
I think now more and more we have the ability to really, pick those for who's going to be the best fit for our team. And when, we bring them on as contractors, like independent contractors. Down the road, we may convert them to actual employees, but that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
You know what the cool thing though is about all this as well is even though this has been a tough, almost feel like 2 years now for us, and it has been tough. It has not been easy. There's no doubt about it. It's still fun. Like, I'm having fun along the way. Yeah, I'm losing some money, but I'm still having fun. I'm being creative, but I can also see the path. Like I can see where it's going, and I think that's the one thing that if anybody that takes away from this conversation that we're having right now, if this is a space that you want to get into, you can design the business that you want, but it's a lot of hard work, but it's also a lot of fun. And you can also design it in your life how you want to, but you've got to be willing to jump.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you did it. You did your jump, just in the beginning of COVID from your corporate job.
October 1st, 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But they did have a 6 months, and, people thought I was crazy back then, but I'm like, legit, back then, I think the cash flow was decent. Again, cash flow is a different thing, but back then the cash flow was decent, and there was just a time where sometimes your job gets in the way of your opportunities. Right. And yep. I think when I left, I did more than I would have ever, even in probably 5 years of working full time, just because I had all that time to be able to, acquire and build a business, which I would have never done if I would have had a full-time job. Right.
Yeah.
It's, and I'll tell you that the challenges of building a company is actually, it's cool. I love it. I think it's another opportunity to do something different. Like, we're all entrepreneurs. I do believe that, many of us choose real estate investing as the avenue, but it's not the be all and end all. Like, ultimately we want the freedom, but like you said, the fun, enjoying what we do and having fun along the way, and, cash flowing from different options, not just real estate. Real estate goes up and down. And I think, if you're a true hustler, you're a true entrepreneur, create a side business, create a side hustle as well to bring in, additional sources of income. I mean, you've got a bunch of them, sources of income, not just real estate investing.
Right. And the thing too, is that as you're growing that business, and just part of your business that you don't like doing anymore, you can always farm it out. You can farm it out. You can hire somebody in to do it. And there's been many parts of my business I don't do anymore.
Yeah. And I forgot our bookkeeper, because I hate bookkeeping so much. But sorry, Danielle, I love you, but I hate bookkeeping. That's she's our permanent person on for all our bookkeeping, because I don't want to deal with it.
Me too. I don't do it either. What about AI? Let's switch gears a little bit. How have you been using AI to your advantage? Because ChatGPT is out there. There's one that you just recently showed me before we jumped on. This cloud AI. There's all kinds of stuff out there now.
I know, it's mind blowing, because you could do something in 2 seconds that would have taken you 2 hours, and then you just tweak it along the way. Like, recently I just did a listing for one of my furnished rentals, all through just using ChatGPT, and it will spit out all the information. Even just here is the address, find the top amenities or top restaurants nearby, and you can just grab them and paste them on your listing, which is amazing. And creating the description. So I've been using it for that, just creating my short-term, mid-term rental descriptions for my listings. I've used it for social media. I've recently used it to create a new logo And it's actually really good, but like it would have cost us a ton of money to find it. Now all I have to do is send it to my VA and I'm like, hey, tweak it because there's some typos in the logo. I feel like they did that on purpose, but like, just like tweak it and fix it up and we're gonna use it as our logo.
Right. What's that one called? What are some of the ones?
It's ChatGPT, but it's the 4 version or something. It's like $20 a month.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, because another one called Cloud AI, CLAUDE AI. And that one helps, I think, with pictures and stuff. Like there's so many different ones.
So many options. It's so cool. I haven't even scratched the surface of it, but I would say if you haven't used it yet and you haven't tried it, just try it. Like the regular one is free.
Yeah.
Just try it, right? Even just for simple things. What have you done with yours?
Well, I've used it like for, say, like our listings. I've used it for even like social media. We've used it if I'm replying back to somebody and I'm mad and I type you mother and then I say, hey, write it nicely.
Yeah.
So, there's so many different ways. But you know what the key thing is right now for ChatGPT and the AI is it's learning how to ask the right questions. That's the key. Because there's so much that it can do for you. Like, I mean, this thing can create essays, reports. It's
blogs. If you need blogs, and you like obviously tweak it so it doesn't seem like it's all AI generated because that won't help your SEO.
Right.
But we do it for blogs too, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's definitely been, we've been using it to our advantage, but I know I'm only just scratching the surface. Like I need to take like a weekend workshop from like an expert to really.
I have a friend who's doing that actually. He's going to create something. And I'm like, can you make it like investor, like real estate specific and small business owner? And he's actually, I met him at a Starbucks just like randomly, like years and years and years ago. And we've kept in touch because he works at Microsoft, which was a client of where I used to work. And then he's now teaching like Microsoft. He's doing his own independent stuff, but he's teaching all the big corporations on how to use it, how to use AI. So he's actually going to be speaking at one of our events. And I'm like, can you do like a course, like not charge freaking $10,000?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm sure that's worth it, but I'm like, we don't all have $10,000 to like spend on an AI course, but like, so he's going to make it so that it'll be like more of a group thing. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to work through that, but yeah, there's so much to learn.
There is. And you know what? It'll be interesting to see where this goes because it's going to impact jobs. There's no doubt about it.
100%.
I think I've even heard now too, where they almost are getting very close to having like a lights out for, I don't know if it was like a car manufacturing company or anyways, it was to produce something on mass scales where now you don't have to worry about any lights on. You don't have to worry about the temperature in the building. Like this is wild where now it can just completely spit merchandise out and there's no humans involved except to go in there and maybe fix some mechanical piece that's broken down. And I'm sure you can probably get like an alert or whatever. And some human is at home that gets the page or the message. It's wild.
Yeah, no, I think there's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be gone. Do you think that's why they're like slowly starting to talk about universal income?
Let's talk about that universal basic income. Yeah. And they are, and there's an article, let me pull this article up right now. There was an article that I saw and it just recently came out. Let's see here. Yeah. It just came out like in October. So Canada is considering a guaranteed universal basic income program. So they're talking about this. Right. And it says Canada's taking baby steps towards a basic income program meant to broadly address poverty. Maybe this is what the Trudeau government is going to push hard before the next election.
Is this the everyone will be happy and no one will own anything stuff in exchange for universal income that will push the prices up of everything anyway? So it's almost going to be at the end of the day, once they do that, the prices will reflect everything and we'll be back to square one with a heck of a lot more fucking money printing. And our dollar is going to be worth less in inflation. That's just my take on it. I don't think it's the solution. I think it'll create even more laziness. Like I feel like COVID brought a lot of just people that didn't want to work, checking the box, like doing the basic, without doing extra. Like I think it's going to make it worse and less people are going to be motivated to work because they're going to be given this money that they're going to think is going to be the be all and end all. And again, I don't know what the details are, but I'll tell you if it's government run, it's probably going to be a shit show at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Listen, like their UHT tax that did you hear about that?
Yeah. Yeah. We did it. Well, we filed and then of course now they extended it till April.
Yeah, I know. We filed the last day too. I'm like, literally at 3 p.m. they announced that they were re-extending it again. And it's like, it's just not good. It's just not good optics.
It isn't.
And we told us the government, I mean, I know this is not political, but 2 more years, man. But if they get back into, I might join you in Mexico. They get back in.
Come on down.
Another 4 years, man.
You know, in Mexico, the part of Mexico where we are right now, it feels like the 1980s, and I love it down there.
I loved going last year. I'm excited to be there again.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, but going back to what you're saying, yeah, I agree. Look, you know what? If they do roll this out, listen, it sounds good for people who are struggling or in poverty, but this creates more inflation. It's going to create higher taxes. And I was talking about this the other day. Like, I'm not concerned, like, with when you look at real estate, not in regards to like a market crash down, but I'm more concerned about a market crash up. Because when this inflation starts hitting more, and let's say when, and eventually they have to lower the interest rates. What do you think is going to happen to the market? Like, it's going to take off. And so if you're struggling now to get into the market, what do you think is going to happen later on? Now, I don't think we're at the bottom yet by any means, but I think we're close to it. Like, I can't see the prices of these homes sliding a whole lot more.
Well, it's supply and demand, right? And I think I was reading something about the immigration numbers being revised or relooked at because they were so high. And I think they're slowly realizing that there's just no supply. And right now, I think it was a matter of 10% of the market is able to actually afford, or 10% of the workforce or this population is able to afford to qualify for a property right now based on the stress test and based 10%? on 10%.
That's wild. Yeah. So I think, what you're talking about there was that immigration minister, Mark Miller, and he was saying so there's a couple different things I think they were talking about is like, one, they want to slow down the immigration for 24, 25 and 26, cap it around 500,000, which is still a shitload of people, right? Like it's, and then also too, they were saying that they want to see if they can incentivize people. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyways.
Incentivize.
That's
it. That you got it.
Yeah. Okay. It didn't come out proper, but anyways, but to see if they can get into move to like rural areas, smaller towns, which makes sense. I mean, that's something Darlene's always kind of talked about. It's like, hey, you know what? Like, why do they always got to come right to the hub? Now, I mean, fine. Okay. Yeah. They're going to move out to the outskirts, but there's nothing to stop them from maybe coming back into the hub anyways. But you know what, if they set up shop there, maybe they do stay there because they like it there. Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just yesterday at this networking event and this is all part of the midterm business. So we work with some companies that essentially what they do, and it's like government funded. They bring in immigrants from different countries that are business owners and entrepreneurs, and they help them. They coach them. They come with money. They help them get funding as well. It's actually a really cool concept.
Okay.
And so I think they'll always there's likely, and those are always going to be in the GTA. But are you worried about the types of immigrants that they're also bringing in? Like, have you heard anything about it being less restricted?
No, I haven't heard anything about that. Like in regards to what, like the type of,
because they usually have like certain points and certain things. So they have to come in with like, you're either coming for school, you're coming for this, and then you get certain points and then you come in. I heard something about, they're again, you guys have to check your own due diligence and stuff, but that they're not going to, they're not looking at as strictly on those total points. And so people that are coming in may not necessarily all have the funds, may not necessarily have, the type of education or like the qualifications, et cetera. But
so now they're not going to be a contributor to the society potentially, where now they're actually a burden on the society. It sounds like, is that what you're saying? Potentially.
Possibly. Yeah. And some of them are getting a lot of money too.
When they come in, they know how to work the system. They know how to work the system. Like, I have nothing against immigration. I think there's just too much of it right now that like a lot of Canadians are suffering because there's just not, in many places, just they don't have enough housing and this is what's happening. The rents are going up like crazy. The real estate's going up like crazy. And I guess this might be kind of like the last frontier of, or getting very close to it, where I think we're going to see the next generation where they're not going to be able to afford these homes where, like 2,000, 3,000 square foot homes. And I think this Bill 23 is going to address it, where you're going to start to see now families living with other families. I think that's just going to be the next norm. And, let's say if you were to go to Manhattan right now, you wouldn't be mad that you couldn't buy a property in Manhattan. You would just be like, oh, I missed the boat. And I think that's what's happening here, is that if you don't get in, you're just going to miss it. But 10, 15 years, you're like, yeah, wow, like that's crazy. Like Sarah had 30 properties, or how many properties you end up having, or whatever it may be, or even just one property. People were like, that's incredible. Right. And I think that's where we're potentially going, where you're going to see a lot more of these multi-family, multi-generational living. Right. Like my son just recently moved out. He's got great income. He can't afford a home on his own.
I know as well. I mean, none of these stress test rates either. It's nuts. Yeah. Nuts. But no, you might be right. I think the GTA will be probably out of the picture for many in a few years from now. But
let's take a look at this. Like the baby boomers. Okay, so the baby boomers now, they're getting into their 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They're living in these 3,000 square foot home, right? They're getting to the point where they can't climb these stairs soon. Well, what happens when they move out? Somebody moves in. Who's going to buy that home? Number one, if it's in Toronto for like $2 million.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to chop that house up.
Yeah, you do.
There's going to be fewer and fewer people that can afford those type of homes.
Mm-hmm. Or the top tier is going to slowly come down a little bit, and there won't be as much of a gap. But I think there's something to be said as investors. Like often we just buy the bottom tier of the market, or something along those lines, or to the bottom half of the market.
Yeah.
Many of us anyways, because I think that's going to be least affected.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a downturn, and I don't know if we've hit the bottom like you. I'm hoping that there's I don't know, maybe another 6 months to 12 months of some unknowns. But if things happen, it's usually going to be that top tier that's going to feel it the most to start with.
Yeah. Like when you look at those townhomes don't slide a whole lot. Like where they are right now, are they going to come down a little bit more? Yes. Townhomes in our area, they were going for like $1 million. They shouldn't have been there. They're down more into that 700 range right now, 6 to 8. And that's kind of where I don't even know if you can say that's where they should be, but anyway, that's where they are right now. For the next 6 months to 8 months, will they slide a little bit more? Possibly, but not a whole lot more. Like you're not going to go to 300,000. You're not going to go to 400,000, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. I think we're close to the bottom. But I will tell you this though. I was doing a CMA for a client yesterday, and they want to know what the price of their townhome was. And I looked in a particular area, and I had to go all the way back to August, and there was like one or two that sold. Like it's slowed down a shitload. Like it's wild. And then not only just townhomes, but I'm not even talking about even bigger homes where they're just sitting on the market. Like I've got a few listings and they're just sitting there. And then if you have a property that has tenants in it, good luck.
Yeah, no, especially the tenants that are like way under market.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
They've even said
cash for keys barely works, because a tenant that's paying $700, let's just say, instead of $1,400, where are they going to really go? The cash for keys, I think, was okay when there was more inventory and the difference wasn't as high. But, when you look at what the rents have gone through in the last 3 years, it's just, you look at the last 3 years and 3 years prior, the last 3 years has just been off the rock. It's just nuts, But
it's incredible how fast rents went up. Incredible. I remember we used to be able to, rent a townhouse, a whole townhouse for $1,600.
Well, when I first started in 2013, my first rental was a house. And I think we were, okay, well, let's just forget Matt's sister, but the first regular tenant rental, I think we were at $1,350 or $1,450 for that, which is now probably close to $3,000.
Yeah. That's right as well too.
But the big jump was really in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it is. It's been very significant. And listen, if you're a renter right now, I don't know how you get out of it. The only way that you can, And Sagen just recently did a market update for us. We're going to do another one. And I think it's like 30%, depending if it's Toronto or Durham or Peterborough. But in that 30% range is gifted money. That's the only way people can get into the market. Well, not the only way, but one of the ways that a lot of people are getting in the market is gifted funds from their parents or from their grandparents or family members. Right.
I wonder if there's going to be, an opportunity though for more vendor takebacks or like some creative financing, because there's going to be some people, especially landlords, that would just want to sell, and they maybe, or even somebody that just needs to sell. And even if they hold 10% or whatever that amount is to help somebody with a down payment for like 2 years, 3 years, I think there's going to be a creative strategy there.
There's definitely, I see it a lot more now. I'm looking at listings and you're seeing VTB. I've got a client right now. We're offering a VTB. It's a townhouse, or sorry, it's a triplex. They're willing to do 400,000 on it for 2 years. And, I'm sure they would probably even negotiate even more. And you know what? And that's a great strategy for both parties.
Yeah.
Because the investor is able to get into the market and make the numbers work, because it's an interest only payment. And if you can get something that's like depending on how long you think it's going to take for this market to turn around, 3 years, or you can do some forced appreciation, that's a good deal. And then on the seller side, they still have a vested
tax
interest in
deferral
that property. They've got tax deferral. They've got cash flow coming in each and every month, right? So it's a win-win, right? For both sides.
Yeah, no, I think there's going to be some opportunity. The other thing too that, I think in times like these that you're going to see more of is those reverse mortgages, as people need to dip in funds from the houses. But, again, like there's a whole other strategy. Like, again, I don't have time to do everything. And like, I did too much already, but there was a company that I'm like, we were going to do. And then we just like, we went with the midterm route, but it was called sell, rent, stay. I don't know if I'd ever told you about that. It's when somebody wants to sell, but they want to stay, so they would rent.
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be some opportunity for that, to buy something under market value, and that homeowner can continue renting. Maybe you can convert the property, they rent a unit. Like there's going to be some opportunity, I think, to be very creative in the next 12 months on how you can acquire property. And I think the VTB is just one of the avenues, but in times like these, just have some cash available, because I think you'll need it for the downturn, but you'll also need some for the opportunities that come about, because there's going to be tons.
I think now is a good time, whether it's this month or whether it's 3 or 4 months from now. We're in the good time now to be looking for deals. This reminds me of, it's obviously slightly different, but of 2008. When there's so much fear in the market, this is where you can go out now and actually shop and look around. I also believe that this shock to the system will make a lot of investors who were not savvy or just were trying to get into the game, they will never do it again. Right? They're going to go back and their coworkers are going to be like, I fucking told you. I told you not to do it. Right. And it's kind of like the same, like if you take a look back at the late 80s, early 90s, those baby boomers were trying to get into the market, and they did, and they started buying investment properties. Like I even talked to even my partners, they're like, yeah, we had like 6, 7 homes, and then the market crashed, and then I had to go bankrupt. And once you get bit like that, you don't want to deal with it again. Like even my dad even talked to me about it as well too. It was like, be careful. My friends lost money. And so you it's like that, once bitten, twice shy, right? You don't want to get back into it.
There was a lot of people that were interested in real estate investing in 2021, 2022, and these people were overbidding. They were paying prices that made no sense. They were buying pre-construction because they're like, oh, I only have to put 5% down and I don't have to worry about it. Now they're getting fucked over.
That's the voice they use, right?
And then there's all the flipping. This is why you can't have like just one exit strategy, unfortunately, but there's going to be less. Yeah, there's going to be less competition, and that's a
good thing. You need the market. You need it to be shooken up like this. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, but do we believe that this is the bottom, or do we believe that, Trudeau is going to keep printing? Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, you can. We have been swearing.
Is going to continue printing money, sending it overseas, creating inflation. Like, he's got another 2 years, right? I mean, I can sign whatever.
Yeah, I think that's where you start going down another little rabbit hole there, right? Of like, how high can these interest rates go?
Or how much more money is he printing? And, he clearly does not like investors. He specifically has quotes out there saying, real estate should be to live in, not to invest in.
Yeah. Yet, I'm sure he's got, I'm sure it's public knowledge or information, but I'm sure he's got investment properties, and I'm sure I know a lot of those other MPs have all kinds of investment properties as well too, right? So,
probably paid by the taxpayers.
100%.
Paid for by us.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts, and what are you thinking? Like, it sounds like you might have a little bit more of a concern that you may not think that this is the bottom, that you think it could be another, a year or two?
You know what? I don't have the answer, but what I think is going to, for me personally, what I think makes more sense is, from my own investments at this point, because I'm heavy in Ontario, is to diversify a little bit, like hence why we're going to Mexico. But I also think multifamily and creating new is going to likely be where there's opportunities. A, there's less investors. Mm-hmm. B, I think you can work with, CMHC and the MLI program that they have for, 5 or more units.
Yeah.
I think if you can find something like that's, just, again, my own preference for strategy would be the commercial conversions. I think those could still work. I'm personally probably not going to buy anything more with Matt, like my spouse. Yeah. In Canada. I think we're, looking at deploying a little bit elsewhere. And then I think,
you mean outside the country?
Outside the country. And then midterms, I think, is still okay. Short terms, I think, is going to be, banned in most places in the next, this is just me guessing, based on what I'm seeing, probably 3 to 5 years. I think long term is not going to be something that many investors want to do because of all of the rules and RTA, and especially in Ontario, until they fix that. And there's going to be less and less, because I think people are going to be out of the market. I think the rents are going to be like astronomically high if you can get new renters. But I don't know if with the strategies that we're working, unless there's, you're not buying a duplex conversion and you're not going to profit anymore. I don't think for the time being, unless you're midterming it. And then again, there's risks and pros and cons to that too. But you've got to, we're closing on something next week, or we're going to convert it to 4 units. It was a good deal. We'll still do some of those, but it's, real estate as we knew it and how we rode the wave up, we're all going to have to re-strategize a little bit on how we do things.
I agree with that 100%. And I think that goes along the same philosophy of Steve Jobs, where he says, you got to reinvent yourself every 5 years. Mm-hmm. And as I kind of take a look at the progression that I made over the years, it's almost kind of on par. And I think this is a reinvention. I don't think you're going to see a lot of investors like we saw back from 2017 to say the beginning of 2022, going out and buying investment properties on large scales like they did in the past. I think that's gone.
No. I think the pre-construction buying 6 at a time because it's a low deposit, I think that's gone.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're going to see more investors starting to kind of go back into lending their money out to larger REITs or to small, mid-sized investors, where they're lending their money to either buy apartment buildings or, build condos or whatever it may be, where they're getting, a safe return of 6% or 8%. And I think that's what you're going to see people go back to. The ones that were in their cubicle, the ones who were not savvy investors, the ones who thought it was a good idea to maybe quit their job. And they're like, yeah, this is a little too risky for me. I need my salary job back.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, it's a grind. it was always a grind, but this is way more of a grind where, you know, you have to re-look at everything. Like your typical buy and hold, I think, is out the window.
Yep.
Your pre-construction's out the window. Like there's just so many things that just won't work unless rates come back down. But as you said, when rates come back down, I think the house prices are going to go back up again. So
yeah, because people are just waiting, just sitting in the sidelines. They're holding on to the rates that they have. You know, it's going to be also very interesting as well, too.
When everything comes due, as people have to renew from their 2% to like your 6-7%, and they're going to get a shock. That's actually what I'm most worried about, that part.
Yes. There was an article I found here. I think it was $9 billion. $9 billion. Yeah. $9 billion.
Nuts, right? Like,
let me see here.
I mean,
so mortgage payment shock looms as $900 billion in mortgages set to renew in the next 3 years, RBC says.
You just happen to have those open, eh?
Well, I just recently did a podcast with Michael Zanzini and Lorenzo. I had a whole bunch of stuff I was asking them, but yeah.
But that's, you know, to me, that's scary because I think as some investors that have been around for a while, like literally the only two things I had on fixed were renewed anyways. Unfortunately, so everything that I have is variable right now. But, you know, and like, I guess we feel the pain as we go along, but like, if you get the pain is not the shock. Once you have to renew going from 2% to 7% or 6% or whatever they're going to be at that point in time, that's going to be the shock.
I wonder though, if the banks will one bank came out with a 40-year amortization.
Re-amortize. But it's not a big bank. Like it's not it's
equitable, I think.
Like B lenders.
Yeah. And I think the interest rate's like 11% or something like that.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't they just, you might as well just go private at that point in time.
Exactly. But I wonder though, if the banks will bend a knee, or wonder if they will change things to accommodate that. Because if you take a look at it, the banks don't want these homes.
No, they don't. However, like they're gonna have to do something. So they either have to reamortize longer, which when I asked like my contact at National Bank, I'm like, have you heard of anything? And like he'd probably be the first in line. They haven't. So you never know though. But I do agree with you. Like they're either going to be people are going to either have to sell, or they're going to have to find a way to make their 2% to 7% more manageable and have to go over a renew amortization. But when they're re-amortizing, they're going to have to requalify. So how would that look?
If they re-amortize, they'll have to.
Right? Because like what happens if
they will. Like, right. That is correct.
They're going to lose. There's lots of people losing their jobs right now. There's lots of people being let go. There's downsizing. Like, I mean, again, maybe different industries, but hopefully you're in the same financial situation to requalify again if you need to re-amortize.
You know what I think will end up happening as well too, you know, as I kind of think this through, is that I think you'll probably see this wave of up and down throughout the next 3 to 4 years in prices. And if I remember correctly too, I believe like in the early 90s, that's kind of what you saw. You saw a decline, kind of came back up again, declined, and then it took off. So I bet you're going to probably see that. Like, I just don't think you're going to see like this, you know, when it hits the bottom, it's just going to go straight up. I think you're going to see this stickiness for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But you know what? My guess is good as an experts anyways, because they're wrong too.
We're just making this, like, we're like making assumptions. I mean, yeah, like nobody knows, you know, like, and there's a potential war brewing. Like there's so many things at play. There's just,
you know, a
lot of uncertainty.
Yeah. And look, I feel comfortable making my own predictions because look at all the predictions that were made last year. Don't worry about it. Just take a 1 year. You'll be fine.
And they were actually like exactly saying, don't worry, the rates will be low for a long time. And then they've jacked them up 10 times.
Exactly.
Well, that's your government for
right.
you.
And those are people, you know what? And when you study charts and all, those charts are just snapshots of history. They can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. Right. Like look at the charts. When I was looking at charts in 2012, 2014, they were like this. They're like, well, it's got to crash. It has to crash. Look how long it took before there was a change. And that change only came in 2017 when Kathleen Wynne made that, what was it again? the foreign tax, and there was a couple other changes.
The fair housing stuff that she wanted to do.
Right. But there was no chart that you could have looked at that would have been able to allow you to, this is what's going to happen. So you just never know. It could just be a simple policy change that changes things.
Yeah. You know what I like? The one thing that came out of this last few years is, who you can trust, who has your back.
Yes.
You know how people are when shit happens and shit goes downhill, because everybody likes winning. And you really can see people's true colors, and how they are, and if they're greedy, not greedy. It's very insightful, to see how people act and react in these times, because you don't see that from the other side. And are they going to get in there, and are they going to help and, do what they need to do to make it a win-win situation? Or are they going to take one side, be greedy? And, I had somebody come to me who is a sponsor, and their business is hurting, we're like, let's just figure it out later. Just come, we'll get you some business. You know what I mean? I think it's just a good time. We all just have to help each other. It's all shit. No one's really having, maybe you're having fun, but many of us are, it's draining, right? Because even though. But
listen, Sarah, I am not having fun. I don't know. I thought I said
in Mexico,
in Mexico, I am.
But there's a lot more ups and downs, man.
Yeah, but no, listen, I'm hurting as well too. My businesses are hurting. We're losing money, but it's just part of it. But it sucks. It does suck.
Yeah.
But I do believe in the businesses that we have, and it's a good thing we've got a couple different ones that I can focus more energy on and saying, okay, well, this is what I got to do to put food on the table and to make things move forward. And we'll see what happens over here on this other side of my business, and just let it kind of just hum along, but I'm not going to put a lot of energy into it because it's not making any sense right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. Right? And I think that is what is needed, is multiple streams of income or multiple side hustles, whether it's real estate investing, whether it's whatever else that you want to do that you're good at, that you want to include, so that you can have a wide net, to be able to take the ups and the downs. And because if I was just doing cash calls, it would suck even more. Yeah. I'm doing cash calls, but there's still stuff that's decent.
Yeah. Are you thinking about selling any more and repositioning?
Maybe one more.
Yeah.
Mostly just to move more money out of the country.
Geographical freedom. I'll sell it for you. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you always have to take a step back and say, why am I doing what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. And as much as, as we're investors and you want to keep your portfolio, sometimes it's okay to let it go if it gets you closer to why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And the stuff I'm letting go, or that I'm considering letting go, is I can't add more units to it. I can't sever it. I can't you know what I mean? It's it has its max, I think, use already in play. Mm-hmm. And if I had to I'm okay, what's at the bottom of the lack of there's opportunities for me to build on certain other ones or to convert other ones. I probably wouldn't get rid of any of those that I could still do stuff with, but the ones that have serve their purpose that I could redeploy, why not? Yeah. But it's there's pros and cons in this business, and right now there's lots of hurdles to jump through. And I think somebody that's listening to this should know that they're not alone. We're also in this. It also sucks for us. But you just have to. This is going to be a mindset play, and some days are great and some days are horrible because you get all of these bad things happening at once, or problems and things, and you're like, holy shit, man, I'm working for 20 cents on the dollar right now on certain things, right? Yeah. But there's I also believe that those that are still going to be plugging away and continuing, and grinding it out through these times will come out tenfold ahead when this is done, because there's going to be a lot less competition. There's going to be opportunities, and, like, it's just a true test of, mindset that we're dealing with right now.
Well, see, you are making more than me. I'm doing 15 cents on the hour. So it sucks. It does.
Oh God. Yeah.
But, so I recently just hired 3 new agents on my team, and each of them, they said, is now a good time to be doing this? And I was like, hell yeah, this is the best time, because I'm going to teach you my bad habits. I've learned bad habits because business was just landing in my lap. It was easy. Yeah. It was just like, boom, here's another investor. But it was wild. And so I'm like, now you're actually, and, so I plugged them into our coaching team as well too. So I get coached from Kathleen Black, and I'm like, you're going to learn good habits. You're going to learn how to do it right way to be a successful realtor, and you're not going to learn my bad habits. And when things turn and when things get good again, and they will, it's going to be that much better for you, because in a downturn, you'll know how to survive. You'll know what you had to do.
Yeah. Or you'll pick the real estate from a real estate investing strategy. You won't be thinking that you can buy 6 pre-construction, that they're all going to go up, and then you can assign paper contracts over for profits.
Right.
That might not be the best strategy, and you'll learn from, what some people are dealing with. Hopefully that's not you, but if it's too easy, it doesn't always have a good ending. I think pre-construction was too easy for too many people for too long.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to do pre-construction, build your own. If you want, or buy land and develop. And I mean, again, you have to have, money for that stuff, but there's going to be strategies that don't work anymore. I think in the next 2, 3, 4 years that may not work again for a long time, but
I agree. Yeah. Everything shifts and everything goes in cycles, right? Like, look, when I first started, it was rent to own. Then I went into the BRRRR. Then I went into private investing. Now, multifamily. I thought I was never going to touch that space, but it makes sense now.
And now you're doing some Mexico stuff. Yeah,
Mexico stuff, right? It's always just reinventing and shifting. It's just always shifting, pivot and adapt. That's the one thing I always preach.
Yeah. Like for me, I was doing buy and hold, where I was finding my freaking tenants before even the house. That was just nuts now that you think about it. But buy and hold, and then small BRRRRs, and then bigger BRRRRs, and then commercial conversion stuff, and then land, and then the resort. And then from a rental strategy, it was like long-term, and then short-term, and now mid-term, and some hybrid. And, and I think that there's still opportunities for different rental strategies past that. Right. But, there's tons of opportunities. I think you talked about baby boomers before, but what about student rentals for boomers that are not student rentals? But, there's a lot of people out there that can't afford to live, in a $2,000 1-bedroom apartment, but they might spend $1,000 for a 5-bedroom with 5 other seniors. I mean, I think there's some really cool opportunities that will come from that.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a guess and pick a strategy, and again, I might dabble into it down the road, but I'm sure
we're going to have to get those electric lift chairs on those stairs, or just bungalows.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want anybody falling down.
Little elevators, but it could be you're 65 plus, right? You're living with other 65 plus women or men, whatever that is.
Yeah.
They're usually going to be almost even because they probably were homeowners for a long time. Yeah. They have the money, but.
And that's not a bad idea. And you put a PSW worker in there.
Yeah. You can have somebody check on them once a day. You can have private chef delivery meals, but again, you have to figure out what the liabilities and stuff like that are. But I think that is a strategy that could do really well as baby boomers get older. And there's and I have a nursing background, again, never did nursing. I went to school for nursing and I graduated and whatever, but nursing homes are one thing, but even just senior residences, it's thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. And on top of that, there's a huge wait list for years to get in something. So, in the private sector, I don't think was ever looking at that or doing much with that. So
yeah. And then, somebody had told me about that as well too. That's why a lot of times you'll see like older people on these cruise ships, because it actually sometimes ends up working out
cheaper for them. It's cheaper for them to be on a cruise ship and to enjoy their retirement there than retirement. It's nuts.
Yeah, you're right. You're getting somebody serving you food, and you got drinks, and you're getting the sun, your vitamin D.
I don't blame them.
Life. Yeah. I might be there too. I'll see you there.
Well, no, you're going to create these homes and you'll just live in one of them at some point, maybe.
All right, Sarah, listen, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there's going to be opportunities that come out of these shit times. So hang in there, guys.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to finish it off, right? There's going to be some opportunities out there during these shit times. We'll figure out a title for this podcast. It's even shitty for me and Sarah. Maybe we'll call it.
It's even shitty for us. It is shitty for us. Like, there's more stress. There's more shit that happens. There's more problems.
Yeah.
There's less cash. You just got to get through it. And some days are better than others. And some days you're like, what the fuck? Yeah.
And you have employees, you have staff. Like, I mean, I've got a lot as well too. And you got to balance it all, and you want to keep them, but you've got to obviously look at the bottom line.
And I think somebody that's in real estate today, that's still active, they feel it too. Whether they tell you or not, they feel it too. No one's going to be like, oh my God, I've never made so much money in my life right now.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe than 2022 and prior. And guys, you just got to hang in there. But just know, anyone that's in real estate, actively in real estate, is not doing as well as they were last year or the year before.
Yeah.
And they're probably hurting, some more than others, but they're feeling it.
Yeah. 100%. And you got to go back to the basics as well too. I was even telling Chris and Quinn, go back to those networking events. Go back, start calling your clients, like talk to people, reach out to people, like just do the things that we used to do. Yes, they're not falling in our laps anymore. So
get back to the grind.
That's it. Maybe we'll call it that. Get back to the grind.
Why not? There you go. Good title.
Yeah. All right, Sarah, listen, I appreciate your time. Anybody wants to get a hold of you, I think they all know how to, but what's the best way?
Sarah at sarahlarbi.com.
Awesome. Sarah, thank you. I'll see you in Mexico.
All right. Cheers to Mexico.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Do you know what blockchain is? How about the difference between Bitcoin and crypto? After 15 years of explosive growth across the globe, it's important not to get left behind. We are currently in the mid-90s of the internet when it comes to adoption. Want to learn more? Make sure to reach out to unbitcoin.ca broker today. Whether you have basic security questions or you need help buying Bitcoin in a safe and convenient way, onebitcoin.ca is here for you. Get started today with Canada's Bitcoin partner, onebitcoin.ca.
Thanks for listening to today's show with Gary Hibbert. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with your host on Instagram at Gary Hibbert. Until next time, stay mindful and remember, you don't have to be great to start. Just start, and you'll be on the path to being great.